4, follow traffic, clear visual approach, runway 4 right, maintain 17, John Austin, 5 mile final. Alright, 17 till 5 out.
Fresh insights and important information on navigating winter weather conditions. From the National Business Aviation Association, this is Flight Plan. I'm Rob Finfrock. 'Tis the season for cold temperatures, snow and ice, and all the associated challenges that come with winter flying. The effects from winter storms can extend far beyond cold fronts and squall lines, as a storm in one part of the country can directly impact your planned flight hundreds of miles away. For perspectives on how general aviation airports, pilots, and others handle winter conditions, I'm pleased to welcome Dean Snell, manager of NBAA's Air Traffic Services. But we'll begin with Michael Fawaz, director of Willow Run Airport for the Wayne County Airport Authority. Located about 20 miles west-southwest of Detroit, Willow Run was the 2023-2024 recipient of the Balkan Post Award in the large airport category. The award recognizes individuals and facilities that demonstrate outstanding performance in responding to snow and icing conditions. And Michael, I'd imagine your team gets lots of opportunities to hone that response during wintertime in southeastern Michigan.
Michigan has some very unpredictable weather, temperature fluctuations. Some people in South hear snow, but snow for us is in two different categories. Is it wet snow? Is it dry snow? What's the water content in it and how we attack it, along with freezing rain and ice, which is a whole nother nuance of issues for us. With that jumps into safety. We want to be a safe airport, and the Willow Run staff here, they're like a very close-knit team, family, if you will, that really takes pride in their work, and they prioritize safety while maintaining 24/7 operations here. Winter planning, there isn't just a winter season. It's a preseason, winter season during the season, and then there's a postseason. And it almost runs all year. And then collaboration with stakeholders. Communication is key when it comes to winter. We talk with the FAA, the FBOs, airport tenants, and then DTW, which is right down the street from us and part of our airport authority system.
You mentioned that planning for winter extends far beyond the actual season. Does that process have a defined beginning and end point, and who are some of the stakeholders involved?
July is the only month where we do not discuss snow. Okay, so we get maybe a 1 month break there. So the season, our official season, is from November 15th to April 15th. That's our active snow season. That's where we're constantly monitoring. We communicate with the National Weather Service 24 hours before every event. We are having internal meetings, getting weather slides, and preparing for whatever the event is. After that, that's when we distribute it out to all of our tenants and stakeholders, let them know what's coming, and let them know what we have planned for that storm. Let's go to the preseason. So preseason is actually talking about June to October. So people think of ice cream and parks and picnics in the summertime. We're still talking about snow. We have our friction tests that we send in June for calibration. Then back in August, we're back at it. Everybody's still enjoying the tail end of the summer and into the fall. And that's when we're really ramping up. We have our monthly tenant meeting. I'll send out our snow and ice control plan. Tell them, I know it's August, but take a look at it. Tell us if there's anything we can update or put some implementation into. And then September and October, that's when we have our equipment ready. We finalize our snow and ice control plan, and we're ready to go for the winter again. Postseason, May, that's when we talk about our snow totals, what we got, some challenges we may have faced, and how we can improve on our snow and ice control plan. So there you have preseason, active season, and postseason.
Now, that's the airport perspective on winter operations. Dean, from your vantage point at NBAA Air Traffic Services on the floor of the FAA's Air Traffic Control System Command Center, what challenges does winter pose to ATC and the National Airspace System?
Yeah, Rob, good question. Along with the typical volume issues associated with what's called snowbird traffic between the Northeast, Midwest, heading down to Florida, the Caribbean, and of course back. We also see terminal constraints at airports dealing with the winter precipitation, obviously primarily in the northern areas in the Northeast, Midwest. The wild card is snow removal on the runway surfaces. And the wild card thing with that mainly is that, we can see the runway shut down for a significant amount of time. leading to reduced rates and sometimes an outright airport closure while they remove the snow and ice from the runways and the taxiways. Some of the most popular destinations during the winter are the mountain ski airports, which are located in the higher elevations, obviously. A lot of those airports have a single runway, so you can imagine any kind of snow cleaning or removal operations on a single runway is going to shut the airport down until they get it back open.
So a storm over the Midwest, for example, can really affect traffic all over the lower 48, and especially to popular winter destinations.
Exactly, because with those conditions, you're going to have those reduced rates. With the reduced rates, that quite often doesn't actually eliminate the traffic trying to get into those airports. So there's airports back up, you'll have airborne holding, and quite commonly, you'll also then see ground delay programs or delays into those airports based on that reduced capacity. So, delays can extend throughout the day. And the other thing to keep note of is frozen precipitation can close these airports at a moment's notice. The airport makes the decision when it's no longer, in their opinion, safe to keep that runway going. They're going to close it, and quite often, aircraft are already airborne. So you're going to see holding for that airport while they're treating that runway to get it back open. And that's obviously going to create delays in and out of that airport. The main thing is capacity, and anything that's going to reduce capacity either at an airport or in the airspace is going to quite often require some type of traffic management initiative to slow it down, usually in the form of ground stops and or ground delay programs. In the winter season, we're used to seeing a volume pickup for traffic heading down to Florida and the Caribbean, as well as the ski destinations. They're popular destinations, so it's common, especially around the weekends, the first part of the weekend, Thursday, Friday, to see an uptick in traffic heading south to the warmer weather or to the ski country airports. And then we can typically see the return back to the Midwest and Northeast on Sunday afternoon or Monday if it's a holiday weekend. And around those times, flight operators should expect to see some traffic management initiatives just simply due to the volume and the capacity in the airspace. So the FAA resources are a valuable tool just to have that situational awareness of where the delays are, how long the delays are. That information is also included on the FAA resources. And to plan the possibility of those, especially if you're traveling during those peak times.
It sounds like winter weather constraints can be quite similar to what we see during the summertime for convective activity.
Winter forecasting is usually a little better than convective forecasting. So quite often, with these winter storms, you have a good forecast. So the flight operators should know well in advance that, where they're headed, they're likely to see some winter precipitation and plan accordingly and be ready for the delays that are going to be associated with that.
Right. Unlike with convective activity, we don't often see a pop-up snowstorm.
Yeah, the air mass thunderstorms are usually unpredictable where they're going to pop up. And that's where you'll see, a lot of these big airports, because of the forecast, and the airlines will basically cancel a bank and or all of the flights if it's a specifically bad winter storm coming in, a blizzard per se, and you'll see the mass cancellations that are associated with those events.
So when business aviation flight crews operate across areas that are affected by or experiencing winter conditions, what should they pay particular attention to when planning those trips?
I think what's always best is to have, some backup plans in your back pocket, some alternate airports that might have multiple runways. The advantage there, of course, is multiple runways. They're usually shutting runway down at a time to clear it, and then they can switch over to the other runway. So it's more just being aware, situational awareness of where these storms are occurring and how they might affect you, so you can have those backup plans ready to go if and when needed.
Michael, what can business aviation pilots do to make your job a little bit easier during winter storms?
Great question, Rob. I'd love to get this out there. Runway conditions, NOTAMs, and communication. I know pilots know to look at the runway condition codes and to look at the NOTAMs for closed runways or open runways or what's going on over there with the weather. That's only the first step. Communication is important because, as I previously stated, we plan all year for snow, and then when we're in it, we're constantly communicating. And I will say, our tenants, they know this secret, and others may not know. We didn't win the Belkin Post Award by simply having a good snow plan. Our commitment to excellence will show in the letters of recommendation that we receive from our tenants. And there's countless stories of what we did to go above and beyond, how we tried to plan around actual departures and arrivals. So I will implore all pilots to don't be afraid to pick up that phone and call our tower or call our airfield operations or me. I will be more than happy to let you know what we're planning. And if you want to come in at a certain time, we will have that primary runway open for you at that time. So we actually try to accommodate our customers. And that's just a key takeaway that I just would want everybody to know, and not just the stakeholders over here at Willow Run Airport. Others is diversion planning. If something were to happen, yeah, we are a 2 runway operation, but 8 miles down the road is Detroit Metro Airport, 6 runways, large commercial hub airport is also an option.
It's good for the flight crews to be aware of, on the departure side, de-icing plans, because each airport has different de-icing procedures and plans in effect. Obviously, the area where they're doing the de-icing has to be approved for environmental reasons. Quite often, the FBOs are able to de-ice on their ramps, but there are some airports where the de-icing is done off the FBO ramp closer as you get to the runway. When you're looking at maximizing holdover times for aircraft after they get de-iced to make sure they can get airborne, before icing becomes an issue again. So that's a good thing for the crews to be aware of, is the procedures on the departure side, because quite often you'll see a queue for de-icing. So the crews should be aware that, there might be a delay in getting in that queue to the de-icing area, because their goal is usually, once you've been de-iced, to make sure that you get airborne quickly.
Communicating early and often is always helpful. I'll check the flight aware, but if you don't have a flight plan because you saw that the airport is closed, I don't know that's happening, and then it pops up, that makes our job a little bit tougher on, this flight wants to arrive at this time, or this flight wants to depart at this time. If we would have known earlier, we would be able to plan better around that. Again, the pilot, you guys are our customer. We want to make sure that you're accommodated and that your business is operating smoothly. Another thing is partnering with the FBOs, as Dean said, is, the FBOs are key over here at the General Aviation airports. Collaborate with them. We are fortunate enough to have 2 in Flight and Odyssey here at Willow Run Airport. Their de-icing services, ground handling, fueling. We're fortunate to have such an array of nice amenities between the 2 FBOs.
Of course, the FAA has tools year-round that identify the constrained areas and exactly how they're managing those, be it ground delay programs, airspace flow programs, ground stops. If they're heading to an area where they know winter precipitation is forecast, it's good to keep an eye on those FAA resources to see if a program is indeed in place and or their ground stops. And if so, maybe look at alternate plans, or at least be aware of the likely delays that are going to be associated with the poor weather conditions.
You can find the safety and planning resources that Dean mentioned at faa.gov/winter-weather. Be sure to also check out NBAA's own weather resource at nbaa.org/weather for a wealth of information about operating through winter and other adverse weather conditions. Lastly, pilots can also review NBAA's detailed explanation of the Takeoff and Landing Performance Assessment, TALPA, and runway condition codes used to report braking action on slippery runways at nbaa.org/TALPA. And that's the latest from the National Business Aviation Association. Remember, you can subscribe to Flight Plan wherever you find your favorite podcasts, or by asking your virtual assistant or connected device. You can also download episodes directly from nbaa.org. I'm Rob Finfrock. Thanks for listening, stay warm, and join us next time for a new episode of Flight Plan.
Miles right base, sending out 3500.
All right, we got him inside. We're slowing back to 170.